Hare Krishna. So tonight I'd like to speak a little bit of the glories of Lord Jagannatha, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and some of their devotees. So instead of singing Jai Radha Madhava, why don't we do this? Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatu me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ke Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravijikacharya Sotarasata Shishi Madesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ke Grantaraj Shri Caitanya Charitamrita ke Samaveda Gaura Bhaktivinoda ke Gaur Premanande. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So, couple of weeks back, Balaram Prabhu asked me, what would you like to speak about tonight? Well, 2 weeks ahead of time, I have no idea what I should speak on. So I looked on the calendar, and yesterday it was Odana Sasthi. And I don't think there was any mention made of it in class, Maharaj or Balaram. Did Maharaj? Oh, kidokis. Well, I've got plenty around that. He read from CC? Okie dokies. Odana means to offer cloth. Shasti means the 6th titi. So yesterday was the 6th titi of the waxing moon. It's getting bigger. And basically we're talking about the beginning of winter. And during winter, as you can see, if you look online and see the devotees in Mayapur, they're starting to be bundled up. Yesterday, was it yesterday? They observed the festival. And at Lord Jagannath's temple, which is it's an unenclosed kirtan mandap, they were all bundled up. So it's getting cool, and as a result, they offer cloth, warmer cloth, to the Lord. And it's a festival. In fact, in Puri, the festival goes on till the end of Magh, January, December. So anyway, let's try and hear and talk about Lord Jagannath and his devotees. So from the Madhya Leela of Caitanya Charitamrita, 13th chapter, the Lord's dancing at Rath Yatra, we hear from the 119th verse, Emata Gora Shame Danhe Tela Teli Sarate Shamere Rake Gora Mahabali. Thus there was a sort of competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his cart. The competition being described is that Lord Chaitanya would dance for the pleasure of Jagannath, Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and he's trying to bring her Lord, her beloved, the prana of her existence, back to Vrindavan. And I think the purport will describe some of this. This is by Srila Prabhupada, his purport. In his Anubhashya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes the ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. After giving up the company of the gopis in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, engaged in his pastimes at Dwarka. When Krishna went to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister and others from Dwarka, he again met the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Bhava Dyuti Svavalita. That is, Krishna himself, assuming the part of Srimati Radharani in order to understand Krishna. Lord Jagannath Dev is Krishna, and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is leading Lord Jagannath toward the Gundicha temple corresponded to Srimati Radharani's leading Krishna towards Vrindavan. Sri Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, was taken as the kingdom of Dwarka, the place where Krishna enjoys supreme opulence. But he was being led by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan, the simple village where all the inhabitants are filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Sri Kshetra is a place of Aishvarya Leela, just as Vrindavan is the place of Madhurya Leela. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's following at the rear of the Rath indicated that Lord Jagannath Krishna was forgetting the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Although Krishna neglected the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he could not forget them. Thus, in his opulent Rath Yatra, he was returning to Vrindavan. In the role of Srimati Radharani, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was examining whether the Lord still remembered the inhabitants of Vrindavan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind the Rath cart, Jagannath Dev, Krishna himself, understood the mind of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Jagannath sometimes fell behind the dancing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to indicate to Srimati Radharani that he had not forgotten. Thus, Lord Jagannath would stop the forward march of the Rath and wait at a standstill. In this way, Lord Jagannath agreed that without the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, he could not feel satisfied. While Jagannath was thus waiting, Gaurasundar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, immediately came forward to Krishna. At such times, Lord Jagannath would proceed ahead very slowly. These competitive exchanges were all part of the love affair between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. In that competition between Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy for Jagannath and Jagannath's ecstasy for Srimati Radharani, who do you think emerged successful? Who do you think won the competition? A little louder? Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emerged successful. Srimati Radharani can always defeat Krishna. If we could pray together. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ginanjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadanvikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, Lord Jagannath is Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the original. Govindam Adi Purusha Tamaham Bhajami. All other forms of the Lord come from Him. Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. And the Lord, although one, has His unlimited forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadam, Ananta Rupam, unlimited forms. And they're not all in the spiritual kingdom, in the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. Out of mercy and compassion for us who are suffering here in the material universes, He descends. Such a descension of the Lord into this world, manifesting His transcendental spiritual form into this world, is called avatar, one who descends. And the deity is known as the Archa avatar. The deity is Krishna. For those who engage in the purificatory process of devotional service, what to speak of those who have devotion, what to speak of those who have love for Krishna, they know this is Krishna. This is Srimati Radharani. This is Krishna. This is his brother Balaram. This is their sister Srimati Subhadra Devi Maharani. I'm going to take the opportunity to say that nobody called me on this one statement that I made in Friday's class in the morning in Bhagavatam. I was explaining about Lord Krishna manifesting in His eternal form as a baby in the lap of Mother Yasoda, eternal in the roadshow of the manifest Leela in the unlimited universes in this material energy. And I said, it wasn't like he was pretending or he was acting. He actually was in the baby's body. That's the exact words I used. And I caught it when I listened to the class with Chatura. And I said, oh, horrible that I would say that. There is no difference between the Lord and his body. He doesn't inhabit his body. He is his body. His body is Satchitananda Vigraha. I meant to say he was totally absorbed in the mood of a baby. He wanted nothing more than to be held by his mother, or to suck her breasts, or to be tickled by her, or just to have her lovingly look into his eyes and speak childish, nonsense, made-up words. That was what I meant to say. So the deity is Krishna, non-different. One time there was a deity in Bengal, I forget which deity, but the deity broke his arm. Somehow his arm became broken. I've told this pastime, haven't I? You remember it? So they got I forget the word that they call for those who make the deity forms. And they brought him there, and he tried to repair the fracture in the deity's arm. And they let it set, and then when they took off the wrapping, it wasn't healed. What to do? So that night to the Bajari, the deity, the Lord, appeared to him and said, why are you trying to fix my arm with some sculptor, with something Stapati, I think is the name. If your arm gets broken, who do you call? What do you do? Oh, I'd call a doctor. He said, exactly. Why don't you get me a doctor? Help me out here. So sure enough, they went and got an Ayurveda Brahmin conversant with the art of the science of Ayurveda. And he put his poultice on there of different herbs and whatever, wrapped it up. After a few days, they took it off and his arm was healed. So for those who think that they are the material body, the Lord remains stone, metal, paintings on a picture, etc. But for the devotee whose eyes are tinged with love, they know this is Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, in one purport, it's in the 3rd canto, I believe. I didn't have time to research and look it up, but I remember Srila Prabhupada says that in this world there are different eternal forms of the Lord that are eternally in a particular place. They're scattered throughout the world, Srila Prabhupada said. Sometimes they're manifest to the vision of the people, sometimes they're not, but they are eternally there, residing in their dhams. Jagannath Puri is such a dham. It is non-different than the spiritual world. And Lord Jagannath is such an eternal personality, or Archa Vigraha, Archa Avatar, who is eternally residing in Jagannath Puri. So this is Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that Jagannath Puri is a place of Aishvarya Leela. Srila Prabhupada kept it he gave us everything in his purports. But in one sense you could say that he spoon-fed us. Like it wasn't until he translated the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he revealed to us that Krishna was the true eternal son of Mother Yasoda. He appeared in Vrindavan. We had always heard in Krishna book, in his lectures, etc., he appeared in Mathura as the son of as Devaki and Vasudeva. And that's true, but that's not Swayam Bhagavan. That's an expansion of Krishna. He appeared with 4 arms. And then he appeared in his baby-like form. He is eternally in Vrindavan. And this is an example of how Srila Prabhupada expertly presented to us the inconceivable philosophy of the glories of Krishna. And in here he's saying that Jagannath Puri is an abode of opulence. For heaven's sakes, Lord Jagannath is the master and husband of Lakshmi Devi. Just like in Dwarka, the Lord accepts as his wedded wife Rukmini, Satyabhama, 16,106 other wives. Dwarka is certainly a place of opulence. But Puri, Sri Kshetra, is a very, very mysterious dham, abode of the Lord. Because it's not simply the abode of Aishwarya. It's also the abode of Madhurya, the abode of sweetness, as is Vrindavan is always glorified as. In Vrindavan, the Lord expresses or experiences his sweetest reciprocations of intimacy and love with the Rajvasis. Madhurya Dham, Madhurya Leela. Let's see if I can find this. And, the way that is that Jagannatha is Krishna, but as we heard in the purport, he never forgets Srimati Radharani or any of the Rajvasis. He's always thinking of them. Even though he neglected them, to quote Srila Prabhupada's words, he spent most of the manifest Leela outside of Vrindavan, apparently. But he always thought of them, and as such he was always with them, as they always thought of him, and they were always with him. There was no separation. It's described in different ways that he would hide in the bushes and forests in Vrindavan and watch all his loving devotees express their deep, loving emotions of separation from him. And he would reciprocate with them, and they would think that they were dreaming, they were remembering memories, etc. But Krishna was right there. He told Radharani as much in a letter that he sent her, saying, by the mercy of Narayan, I come to Vrindavan every day to be with you. So it is also the abode of Madhurya, sweetness, because that longing for Radharani is always there. And when I was a devotee, a young devotee, for many years we thought that the form of Jagannatha and Balaram and Subhadra, which appear to be crude and unfinished, was the result of the impatience, the ecstatic eagerness of Maharaj Indradyumna to have darshan of the Lord who was being manifest in the hands of Vishvakarma. Supreme Brahman, Param Brahman, manifesting from out of the wood, Daru Brahman. And he opened the door, and Vishvakarma said, if you disturb me, if you don't let me finish, then you come in, I'll stop working, and that's it. And the king did that, and this is the form that they had manifest up until that point. And we thought that was the reason, the Leela of Jagannath's transcendental form. In reality, there's a much more deeper understanding. This form of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, wide open eyes, stunned with their senses, their hands withdrawing within their body like a tortoise, stunned in separation and in ecstasy of seeing the ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani. One of the highest expressions of ecstasy and love for Krishna are the symptoms of apparent death. And Srimati Radharani had gotten to that point at one time in the Leela, and the gopis sent word to Krishna. She can't tolerate the separation anymore. She's leaving. And Jagannatha immediately, he had to go to her. Balaram made it out first in his chariot, headed straight to Vrindavan. Then his sister jumps in her chariot, quickly coming, following afterward. And then Jagannath, for some reason, somehow or other, being last, and he came in his chariot, heading quickly to Vrindavan, just as in the Rath Yatra cart. Isn't it Balaram first? No, in LA, it's funny they don't do it like that. Anyway, I won't say that thing. But anyway, and when they saw Radharani lying there, apparently having gone, they merged into that transcendental ecstatic pose, and this is who we have darshan of. So the Madhurya is there. It's always there. In fact, in Jagannath Puri, every night they sing the Gita, the Gopi Gita, by Jayadev Goswami. I think it's Jayadev Goswami, to Lord Jagannath. And they dress him in forest village cloth, so that at night he can go out and be with his gopis to enjoy transcendental loving reciprocations. Jai Shishi Radha Girdhari ki Jai, Jai Shishi Gornitai ki Jai, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. So anyway, there's also a third layer to the wonderful Dham of Jagannath Puri. It also includes Adharya. Generally we say that Lord Chaitanya's abode of Navadvip, Mayapur Navadvip, is Adharya Dham, the spiritual abode of unlimited mercy. And that's there also in Lord Jagannath's Dham. Lord Jagannath manifests as Petit Pavan Jagannath. At the Lion Gate, when you come up, anybody, even if you don't go into the gate, go into the temple, everyone can have darshan of Jagannath there at the beginning, right there inside the gate, known as Petit Pavan. You can be a Yavana, you can be a Malecha, you can be the foreigner, and you can be any one of the people that the servants of the Lord don't let into the temple. But you can have Lord Jagannath's darshan, Petit Pavan. He's so merciful. So all three are there. And I was going to talk about the primary names of the Lord and the secondary names of the Lord. Just to say it in a one-liner, I'll try and keep this very short because I do want to discuss Pundarik Vidyanidhi. But Jagannath is actually a secondary name of the Lord, Lord of the universe. Any name of the Lord that is in relationship to His being the creator, the maintainer, or annihilator of this universe is not a name from which in and of itself, by remembering or chanting, you will develop Krishna praying. Because it's secondary. These names of Shishtikarta, the creator, Paramatma, the supersoul, Brahman, Shritikara, the maintainer, Jagat Samaharta, the destroyer of the material world, Petit Pavan, the deliverer of the fallen souls of this world, etc. Those are all secondary names, and generally you find them in the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda sections of the Vedas. But in the Bhakti Shastras, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Caitanya Charitamrita, they are made up of so many wonderful names of the Lord. Govinda, Gopal, Sri Nandanandana, Radhanath, Hari, Yasomati Nandan, Madan Mohan, Shama Sundar, Radharaman, etc., etc. Unlimited names. And by glorifying Krishna in relationship to his devotees and his activities with his devotees in Vrindavan, then one's dormant eternal love can become manifest. And one is recommended in this day and age to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya came to garland the entire world with Krishna Prem. The names are the flowers and Krishna Prem is the thread. Put them together, Hare Krishna, delivered from the lips of the pure devotee, entering into the ears and to the heart, Krishna Prem can manifest. So Jagannath, this is a secondary name. But we're chanting Jai Jagannath. Lord Caitanya in the Rath Yatra, in the pastime, that in the chapter that I read the verse from, he chanted Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Manima, Manima, O Lord, O great personality. But it's explained that when the gopis are those who have love for Krishna, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they address the Lord in those names, they're actually doing so. According to the Sanskrit, the word would be, let's see if I can find it. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it's paroksha vada, speech that has a concealed meaning. When the gopis addressed Krishna like this in Kurukshetra, they were actually chastising him. Big, big king. We never forgot you, and yet you left us and forgot us. What else can we assume? And even though they're chanting secondary names, their love was expanding unlimitedly because their separation for the Lord was being expressed in this way. It wasn't like Krishna says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, knowing my opulences, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says you can follow all 64 items of sadhana bhakti perfectly, and it doesn't guarantee that you'll reawaken your spontaneous love for Krishna, or even your spontaneous attraction to Krishna. Bhakti Vinod Thakur said that anybody, I saw the quote, I don't have it, I wish maybe I can very quickly. Let's see if I can. It's very interesting. No, I won't find it. He said, anyone who tells you that they can teach you the sadhana of raga bhakti, of spontaneous, or teach you the sadhana of rasa, they're probably cheating you. Because rules and regulations can be taught, but the spontaneity and the love has to come from us. Guru can show the way, he can guide us, but we're the one who have to step into the actual mandir of Shuddha Bhakti. We have to cross the threshold. So the gopis and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they're chanting like this, they are doing so in separation or in chastisement. It's the highest level of love. Dravida, I wish he was here, but he said, this statement that says Bhagavatam is the spotless prana, the love of the Rajvasis, the service offered by them is the highest, etc. Krishna is the eternal son of Mother Yasoda. He goes, I don't remember who said that. It's Srinath Chakravarti, and it's a commentary from a commentary of his on Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the Rajvasis, they are the standard that we want to follow. The associates of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya himself, they practice service to the Lord, to Radha and Krishna, or Krishna, following the footsteps of the Rajvasis. In fact, many of the Lord's associates are the Rajvasis who descended with Krishna to experience the love of Srimati Radharani. They descended with him so they could assist him in his desired pastimes, desired activities to achieve this realization of the love of Radha, that which is within him that she is attracted by, the happiness she experiences. They come to assist him to accomplish this, to relish this. So, in terms of, see if I covered what I wanted to. Because of time, it might have to suffice. Oh, I wanted to say, when Lord Chaitanya saw when he was going to Jagannath Puri under the instruction of his mother, no, don't go to Vrindavan. I'll never hear of you again. Please go to Jagannath Puri. This way I'll get news of your activities. How are you? He did. And when he was approaching Puri, and he could see the temple, and he saw the Sudarshan Chakra on top of the mandir of Lord Jagannath, do you know what he saw? It was so ecstatic when we installed the Sudarshan Chakra for Nishinga's mandir. I wasn't there for the main one. Were you in Mayapur at the time when they installed the chakra? Big festival. It was during the Gaur Purnim festivities. And I was reading Chaitanya Bhagavat, and right at the most opportune time, there it is. I got to share this with the twins, with Radhanath Swami. When Lord Chaitanya saw the chakra, he didn't see Sudarshan Chakra. He saw Tribhanga Shyama Sundar playing his flute. What to speak of when he got into the temple? Jagannath running towards him, becoming stunned like a log, falling down, losing consciousness because he didn't see Jagannath. He saw Shyama Sundar, the Lord of his life. I've got a picture on my phone if any of you want to see it. Gadadhar, for most of his life, wore a deity of Krishna around his neck. Have you ever had darshan of that deity? I'd like to share it with you if you haven't. Beautiful deity. So Lord Chaitanya, when he saw Jagannath, he didn't see who we see. He saw Shyama Sundar, Gopinath. Gaur Govinda Maharaj says, do you see Krishna, Tribhanga Krishna, when you have darshan of Jagannath? No. Anyabilasita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavitam anukulyena krishnanam shilanam bhakti uchate. The anukulyena krishnanu shila. The favorable mood of pleasing Krishna is what it takes to get the mercy of Guru and Krishna. For the seva, the bhakti to manifest within the heart. But to see Krishna as, to see Jagannath as Krishna, one has to have the mood of the Rajvasis, specifically the gopis, according to Gaur Govinda Maharaj. He said that's the purport, an esoteric purport of Anukulyena Krishnanu. They have the most favorable surrendered attitude in service to Krishna. Lord Chaitanya had it, and Krishna revealed his true form. When he would go to, what is the city down when Lord Jagannath's sick for 2 weeks, he would go to Alanath? It's Alanath. When Jagannath's sick, Chaitanya can't bear this separation, he goes to Alanath, right? In Alanath there is a four-handed form of Vishnu, Adhoksaja Vishnu. When Lord Chaitanya would come in front of the Lord, he didn't see four-armed form. He saw Krishna playing the flute in threefold bending form. He would fall down and pay his obeisances, and they actually have the marble, the rock that was there in front of the deity, and his body melted the rock. The rock melted with the touch of his transcendental body, paying prostrated obeisances to Krishna, Shyama Sundar. For one who has love for Krishna, Krishna cannot hide. He's captured. So Lord Chaitanya came to capture Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And he came with his associates. One of his dearmost associates was Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He called him Bapu. Bapa means father, Bapa. Premanidhi, Premanidhi, Bapa. Where are you? Pundarik Vidyanidhi was an exalted Vaishnava. So exalted, he became the spiritual master of Gadadhar Pandit, Srimati Radharani herself. in Gaura Leela. To try and describe the glories of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, it's certainly beyond my capacity. But we can try and repeat what our acharyas share with us. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi was there in Navadvip for pastimes with Lord Caitanya when he was manifesting his bhakti, when he had become initiated. And then when Lord Caitanya took sannyas and went to Jagannath Puri, Pundarik stayed in Navadvip, but he would come with the devotees visiting. They would come led by Shivananda Sain. And one year when he came, I'll do a little backup story. I think I'll try and squeeze this in. Gadadhar Pandit was taking disciples himself, and evidently he gave initiation to an unqualified devotee. In his mercy, he gave someone who really he shouldn't have, quote unquote. And he told Lord Caitanya, I don't feel the efficacy of my mantra. When chanting, I don't feel it. Could you please give me the mantra? He said, be careful, Gadadhar. You're walking on thin ice. You have a spiritual master. Personally, I'm willing to give you the mantra or my entire life. I'm willing to give my life to you. But as long as your spiritual master is on the planet, that would be an offense on my part to do that. But you don't have to worry. Your spiritual master is coming soon. In 10 days, you will see Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And he goes, it's interesting because I'm always thinking of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, but now I can understand because you want his association, he's coming to Puri. And sure enough, Pundarik Vidyanidhi came. And when he came, Lord Caitanya was with Swarup Damodar, who was a very dear friend of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. They were dearest of friends, bosom buddies. Swarup Damodar used to be known as Purushottama Bhattacharya in Navadvip. He went to Varanasi. He could have taken sannyas there, but he wanted to remain brahmachari. And he came to Puri when Lord Caitanya took sannyas. And he constantly associated with him day and night. And he always chanted for Lord Chaitanya's pleasure. When Lord Caitanya would hear the chanting of Swarup Damodar, he would immediately begin to dance. He would cry, he would tremble, hairs standing on end, become stunned, calling out, fainting. All the ecstasies of bhava, of prem, as if they were personified, would accompany Lord Caitanya. And Swarup Damodar, he was always with the Lord. And they were relishing Krishna Katha together. He was assisting the Lord. And when the Lord would go into these ecstasies, Caitanya wouldn't know if he was on the ground, if he was in water, if he was falling in the bushes or lost in the forest. And whenever he would be in internal consciousness, Swarup Damodar was there to save him from falling into the bushes or run into the trees, etc. in his spiritual ecstasies. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi arrived. Lord Chaitanya's with Swarup and a couple other intimate disciples, devotees, and he said, Papa, Premanidhi, you've come. Smiling so big, so happy. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was in such ecstasy to see the Lord. And Lord Caitanya glorified him. And his ecstasy was increasing, seeing his dearmost devotee, a dear devotee to him. And all the devotees' ecstasy was increasing. And Gadadhar, sure enough, got the mercy of his guru and received the mantra once again. And Swarup Damodar and Lord Caitanya said, you should stay here for some time. And he arranged for a residence for him very close by. And Swarup Damodar and he would spend so much time together. They would go have darshan of Jagannath together. They would serve Lord Caitanya together. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi was present when this festival took place, Odana Sasthi. And he was there, as was the Lord and the other devotees, and they saw the festival. During this day, the pujaris, they give the Lord several different dresses. They dress, they change the dress, change the dress, change the dress. But it's all based on winter clothing, beautiful, colorful clothing, and they make flower decorations, flower bangles, flower earrings, flower turbans, flower garlands. I mean, so beautiful. So beautiful. Those lotus-like eyes and the smile. This was a line that stuck with me. The smile of the Lord Jagannatha that stimulates and rewards devotional service. In fact, Lord Caitanya asked Advaita Acharya, "Where are you coming from?" "Oh, I've just been to the temple. I had darshan of Lord Jagannath." He said, "Oh, nice. And what did you do?" He said, "Well, I had darshan, then I circumambulated him 5-7 times." He said, "Oh, you've been defeated." "What do you mean? Back up, please. Explain what I've lost and quote to me, substantiate your claim." "I've been defeated." He said, when you circumambulated the Lord, you were going behind the Lord and you lost sight of the Lord's lotus face and His lotus smile. When I go for darshan, I simply gaze neither to the right, neither to the left, but on the transcendental face of the Lord. Do you know that verse? Madhuram, Madhuram, Bapa. Do you know that verse? That the transcendental body of the Lord is very sweet. And the face of the Lord is sweeter still. Can he have this is worth hearing for the audience. Okay. And the face of the Lord is more sweet than the transcendental body, and sweeter still is the transcendental smile of the Lord. So the devotees are having this darshan of the Lord, and we have, before I say the mood that overcame Pundarik, we had to say he didn't have an iota of false ego within him. Not one speck. This is Vrishabhanu Maharaj. This is Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Premanidhi. Highest level of love for Krishna within his heart, eternally. And yet when he saw the pujaris offering this cloth, it was starched. It was new cloth and it wasn't washed. And according to Shruti and Smriti injunctions, Brahmins, they're not meant to touch cloth that hasn't been washed. If they do, they have to wash their hands because it's understood they become contaminated. And yet they're offering this. What is this? And he became a little indignant. And when they were walking home in the evening after, being there all day long for the darshan, unable to leave, unable to move. Well, they would have kirtan, but anyway, tied to the Lord with the ropes of their love. When they were walking home, Swarup Damodar and Pundarik Vidyanidhi are walking hand in hand, closest of friends, and he goes, "What's the deal?" The scriptures say that starched cloth is unclean. It's impure. And yet the pujaris offered it to the Lord. Surely they know all these injunctions. Why would they do that? And Swarup Damodar said, "I think it's okay because they've been doing it since time immemorial. If it wasn't proper, surely the king, he would say something. And anyway, the Supreme Lord, He's transcendental. He's not bound by these rules and regulations. He's Brahman, Param Brahman." And Pundarik Vidyanidhi said, "Yes, my dear brother, I totally accept. Jagannatha is Param Brahman. There are no rules or regulations he has to follow. But what? His servants have now also become Param Brahman. They're transcendental to all these things. They don't have to follow rules and regulations. I can understand the king and his attendants might not understand. I mean, I've seen the king himself put on a starched cloth on this day for a turban. So they may not know. But the pujaris? What is this? And so they laughed because he kind of made light. What, they become Brahman? They don't have to follow rules? I don't get it. And so they kind of laughed. They were so close they wouldn't hide anything from each other. They could reveal their minds completely. And they parted ways. They took some prasadam. Then they came and spent the last late hours of the evening with Lord Caitanya. Then he went home and he took rest. And that night, in a dream, Jagannatha and Balaram came to him. Can you imagine how ecstatic that would be? They appeared to him in a dream. But then they began to slap him. And we're not talking about just a little, I wish you were close enough, and I wish because one time in Mayapur, Sikhi Mahiti was close by, and I was talking about Krishna Das Babaji slapping the head when he would say, Hare Krishna. I saw it. I was with the devotee, he slapped the head, and then he would laugh. And so I told that pastime one time in Sikhi Mahiti, my Prabhu. Yeah, I did it to him, and later he told me, ow, that hurt. Sorry. But you're lucky you're not close by. They slapped him, and they slapped him for 2 dandas for 48 minutes. They beat him. Swollen. Prints of their fingers on his face, on his cheeks. And when they began to slap him, he said, my Lord, what have I done? How have I offended you? And Jagannath said, there is no end to your offenses. Who do you think you are criticizing my servants? I'm above the rules and regulations. You said so as such. But you don't think my servants, my fully surrendered servants, aren't above the rules and regulations? You should know better. In Jagannath Puri, they aren't thinking in terms of caste. Oh, I'm a Brahmin, I have to do this and that. And if you're so concerned about your caste and the rules and regulations, you should go back home. This isn't your place. And Lord Caitanya had advised the same to Jagannatha. He said, when you go to Vrindavan, don't associate intimately with the Rajvasis. You won't understand their behavior. Because the servants of Jagannath and the Rajvasis, their mood is basically the same. Krishna is part of the family. He's the love of their life. He's their everything. And the rules and regulations are often just not even thought of in their loving reciprocations with the Lord. So he fell at their feet and said, I'm sorry, forgive me. I deserve the chastisement. Treat me as you will, but please don't throw me away. Well, they slapped the heck out of him for 48 minutes. And then they said, we hope you understand. He certainly got the message. And he would usually rise early and go to have Mangal Darshan with Mangal Artik Darshan with Swarup Damodar. And Swarup Damodar came there. He said, what's the deal? How come you're not up? And when he came close, he saw Pundarik's face like, what in the world happened to you? He said, you know, the joking that we engaged in, that I started and that I was discussing, the standard of service of the pujaris to the Lord very mercifully chastised me for it. He and Balaram came and slapped me, punishing me. And Swarup Damodar was so impressed. He said, oh my God, you're so fortunate. Very rarely does the Lord show himself to a devotee in dreams. Certainly not to the non-devotees, etc. But even amongst devotees, who has darshan of the Lord? And they personally cared enough for you to chastise you? And Pundarik, my Lord is so merciful, so merciful. He said, but I can't go outside. People are going to ask, what happened to you? And I can't tell them that I've received this mercy. He was so humble in that way. So, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that the Lord bewildered Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He put him in that mood of criticizing the pujaris. And he rectified the mood of criticizing the pujaris. The pastime is very instructive for us, very instructive for me. It's thin ice when we even jokingly criticize the devotees. And I'm really preaching to myself here. Pundarik Vidyanidhi didn't have a speck of false ego. My false ego is so ingrained. And even when you try, the false ego makes you think, oh, I know better, I am better, I've done better, I can do better. All so contradictory and unproductive in progressing in Krishna consciousness. Criticizing the devotees is the first offense to the holy name. And we want to get out of offensive chanting. The bhakti really begins when the chanting is pure. So we want to be in that clearing stage and get out of the fog. We want to hear and vibrate the transcendental sound of the Lord's names. And offending devotees, criticizing devotees, unless it's your service to do so, unless we have the relationship to do so, it's not our business. It's like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this world is in no need of a reformer. It is perfectly run, it is perfectly managed, and everything that happens to everybody is perfect. And whenever we think that we see somebody making a change in this world, we should understand that actually it is a higher energy, a higher force than that person causing the change to take place. We, the living entities, are so tiny, insignificant, and powerless. Only if the Lord allows us to fulfill our desires are we able to enact some change in others or even in ourselves. As the jiva, we can only desire. And by the association of Vaishnavas, the guidance of gurus, we can purify our desires. And when the desires are in line with Krishna's desire, then the fulfillment of those desires, takes place according to the vision of many. They would say miraculously so. The impossible can take place if you're desiring to serve Krishna. So we desire, and the energies, they, by the grace of the Lord, allow or do not allow things to happen. This is the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. The spirit soul can't. What does it say? Is not the cause of the fruits of his activities. He's not able to change others in their activities or force them to. It's all the grace of the higher authorities and the energies of the Lord. And Pundarik was one who was fully dovetailed and surrendered to the divine energy of the Lord in pure bhakti, love for Krishna. And they set the example for us in so many ways that we should hear and aspire to. And it is said that whoever hears the characteristics or activities of Pundarik Vidyanidhi will certainly achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. In one other verse, Tavakatamrita tapta jivanam kavirbir iditam kamasapalam shavana mangalam shimaratatam bhuvi grananti ye buridajana. The nectar of your words, this is spoken by the gopis, 10:31-9. The nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations transmitted by learned sages eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestows good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are the most munificent. So, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Marathon key. So would anybody like to add anything or questions or correct me if you heard anything off? I don't have my phone on. On YouTube, ISKCON SanDiego. I hope nobody's asked a question since I'm not prepared. But thank you for your association. Thank you for your attention. May we go to bed and remember Lord Caitanya, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Lord Jagannatha, Shri Radha and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ke, Grantaraj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ke, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke. Hare Krishna.